Dr. Mohammad, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is Abdelkhalik Mohammad. I'm assistant professor in mechatronics. Basically, I'm working at Rolls Royce University Technology Center for manufacturing and on-wing technology. My role is consists of two main parts: the teaching and research. So, teaching, basically, I'm teaching mechatronics module plus manufacturing automation and flexible automotive manufacturing. For research, basically, we are developing a robotic and mechatronic system for on-wing repair and manufacturing. Basically, for Rolls Royce, we have collaboration with some other industries in UK, such as Rolls Royce, Airbus, British Telecommunication, and other to develop for them like robotic and mechatronic system for in-situ repair and manufacturing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How can students benefit more from the professor's knowledge?
Okay, the professor knowledge is actually, we can consider it as kind of a bag or treasure, and you cannot benefit from it unless you try to open it. And the first key to open this kind of bag or treasure is to knock the door by asking. So the more you ask the professor, the more knowledge you get back, in a very simple way.
The next question is, should students take part-time jobs while studying in the university?
Okay, this is a tricky question, and the answer probably yes and no. If they definitely need to do this part-time job, to cover their tuition fee or living expenses, yes, they need to do it. But if it is optional, I would prefer not to do it. They can focus more on collecting knowledge during the university, and after that they need to. After that they can use this knowledge in their future life. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would prefer to focus on the collecting knowledge and the experience during the university time, and also enjoy this period, because this period, I think, is the most beautiful period in the life. Yeah, you will not find any beautiful period after graduation from the university.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
The next question is, how can a student decide doing a bachelor is enough for him, or should he do the master's, or even continue to as much as doing PhD?
Yeah. So if you decide to go only for bachelor, so that means you are seeking for the knowledge which is just sufficient for you to do your job. For example, if you'd like to be an engineer, so this knowledge is very sufficient to be just an engineer. If you go to master, you start to lead some research on your own. So because the main difference between master and bachelor is that you have a project, and this project is your project. So you need to develop the idea, you need to develop the solution to implement this idea, and you need to justify or check the output from this project. So this part is fully your project. It is not someone else teaching you some module and then give you some example, but it is your idea and you need to develop it from A to Z. If you would like to go more and understand deeply the science behind the stuff, so in this case probably a PhD is required. So this is the main difference between these three.
What are some side events that students can try to maximize their knowledge on their field of studies?
For this, probably a group project is a good candidate. So if you participate with some other students to develop a kind of project, or participate in some competition which on the university, for example, robotics competition, Formula 1 competition, and so on. So this kind of side project, I think, will give you a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What does a professor or lecturer like to see in the students?
Okay, the ideal student in my case would be a student who knows what he like to achieve from the university. So, and this is not only for the whole story, not the whole bachelor, but can be implemented for even for a lecture. So when you come to a lecture, at least you know what you are expecting the professor will teach in this lecture. So you have some basic idea about the topics which will be covered in this lecture. And then during the lecture, as I said, ask as many as you can, number of questions to the professor, and in the same time link the theoretical parts in the lecture with some kind of practical or industrial applications. So if you are studying some theory, you don't need to just study the theory on its own. You need to link it with the industry. How I'm going to implement this theory in the real life.
What should students aim during their studies in a university?
Yeah, I think the common mistake which a lot of students do is to aim to pass the exams during the university level, which is not which should not be the main aim for the student. The student here is to collect and maybe generate, let us say, knowledge which can change the global, change our global to a best life for everyone in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they seek the knowledge. After that, maybe they can develop their own knowledge, which can contribute to the whole globe.
What are some challenges and benefits students might face when moving from school to the university?
Okay, the main challenge when the student move from school to the university is that somehow the boundaries of the knowledge is removed for the student. So during the school, you have a certain boundary for the knowledge you are going to learn, which normally the exam does not exceed it. But if you look to the university, the boundary somehow is flexible. So the professor give you just a start point for certain information, and then you need by your own to start to look what is beyond what the professor teach you during the lecture. Not only limit yourself for what you learned during the lecture. So if you limit yourself, it will be a kind of score. But the idea in the university, you need to go beyond these limits and start to discover by yourself what is the application, for example, of what the professor teach you, or what this information is needed for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the boundaries, it is a matter of boundaries. Yeah.
Would you give some motivation to students on why they should study at the university?
Yeah, before the university, actually, as a personal experience, my knowledge was, as I said, limited to what I learned during the high school. And even just before starting the university, I started to thought about something called stepper motor. At the time, I didn't know that this is called stepper motor. I just thought about the idea. But when I went to the university, I discovered that this stepper motor already exists in this world, like maybe 100 years before that. So, as I said, so before the university, your knowledge will be very limited. But after the university, the story is completely different. You will get like an ocean of information. So it's completely different story.
Mm-hmm. Can you provide some techniques for students to prepare for their exams?
Yeah, I think the most important thing for exams is don't wait until the last minute to start to study. I know this is somehow difficult, but I tried two mechanisms. One is study in the last minute, and keep the last minute just for relaxing. And I find the second option working fine for me. So all the time prepare your studying for the exam like 1 or 2 days before the exam time, and keep the last day just for relaxing and reviewing very few stuff.
Can you provide some techniques for students on their courseworks?
Yeah, for the coursework, you need to consider if it is a group coursework or it is a single person coursework. If it is a single, so you need to make sure you understand what is exactly required of this coursework before you start to prepare the stuff, and plan well for it from time perspective. Consider the other workloads and consider also the uncertainties which can happen during the lab. Also, if you can ask the professor if you have like problem or some parts you don't understand what is exactly required, so keep asking. Don't keep silent or don't do it the way you understand it, but ask them. And if it's a group work, the first thing I think you need to think as a group is to distribute the work between yourselves and make sure that this distribution is fair and no one benefit from the other work, which we call it free riding. And make sure also that the output from each individual complement with the other output. So there is no conflict between them or someone, for example, repeats the other works. So in this case, I think you will get a good piece of coursework for individual or for group coursework.
Can you provide some final message you would like to get across students?
Yeah, okay. As a student, you need to think about few stuff, which I think is very essential during the bachelor degree. So you need to think why you would like to study in the university, how you are going to maximize your benefit from this degree, and how you are going to use the knowledge you gain during the university in order to improve our world in general. So think about these three questions, and as I said in the previous answer, for each particular question you need to have some kind of thinking about the mechanism which you can achieve the right output from these three steps.
Taking me as an example, would you say British school in Baku gives enough knowledge to the students or prepares them well to study in a prestigious university like University of Nottingham?
Yeah, considering you as an example of these schools, I'm pretty sure that if all of the students are in a similar level with you, they are very well prepared to study in such kind of university. Because my personal experience with you were the only student who asked tons of questions during the lecture, which something I highly appreciate and I highly like it. Because all the time, if you are the student asking the professor question during the lecture, this motivates the other student first to ask question. A lot of students just shy to ask question. But if they see some other student asking question, they will start to ask questions. Also, if the question myself, for example, I haven't got across this question before, I'll start to learn about the question and teach it, not only for you but for other students. So yeah, as I said, as an example, you were a great student for me.